Okay, Oscar fans, you've got the Golden Globe nominations, the SAG nominations, the BAFTA long list, the Critics' Choice nominations. What excuse do you have now not to be completely dedicated to what your Oscar predictions for nominations are going to be? Well, of course, you're confused. So are we. A lot of those awards disagree. And we've got here today Ann Thompson from Indiewire, Tim Gray from Variety, Pete Hammond from Deadline, and I'm Tom O'Neill from Gold Derby. And to you first, I'm going to put up on the screen the Gold Derby odds for Best Picture as they stand right now. So, Nomadland in first, Chicago 7, Minari, pronounce it correctly, One Night in Miami, Ma Rainey, Mank, Promising Young Woman, The Father, I'll just do the top 10, Defy Bloods, and News of the World. What are your observations there about? Maybe let's just start with what do you think can win, or what do you think?
All right. So Nomadland is still far ahead as far as I can tell. And that's despite the fact that the SAG ensemble didn't put it up there. And that's just because it's an anomalous movie. It's a pandemic year movie. It's a road movie. It's this hybrid that means that a lot of the crafts are not in there, but it's still the strongest one. When I talk to people, and I do get to talk to some people around town, not as many as usual, but they love this movie. The Trial of Chicago 7, very, very strong, and strong across all categories. It is a possibility. I'm not saying it will, but it's a possibility to take over for Nomadland. Minari moving up, totally surging since all of these Globes and SAGs and everything else. It is so strong that it got on short lists, it got composer, it got all sorts of, there's so many signs of strength. And then One Night in Miami, steady as they go, very strong, and Ma Rainey too, and Mank is going to be like The Irishman, lots and lots and lots of nominations, incredible amount of crafts, and we'll see what it actually wins. And
another movie,
Promising Young Woman is surging too.
Yes, and it's popping up in all kinds of places for Best Picture, including like a Critics' Choice and elsewhere. That is surprising us, but we have to take it seriously here.
Which one?
Promising Young Woman. I mean, it's surging in every which way. And so, Pete, what do you think can win here?
Well, something's going to win because
that's a good place to start.
So I'll say that. My problem with all of this and prognosticating here in this very weird season where literally we're still not even quite a month away from the nominations. Maybe by the time people see this, we're a month away. But a lot of Academy members just haven't seen a lot of this stuff. So these precursor groups, as usual, are giving them a reason to put it in and watch it. And how they're watching it is interesting, because I talked to one yesterday who had said they should send an Apple box or a Roku to every Academy member because a lot of her friends are watching things on their computers. Well, that's not the ideal way to judge a movie. And so different movies are going to play better that way. I'm not sure that Nomadland is a computer movie because it's very deliberately paced, and you have to stay with it. And, you have to get enveloped by that kind of a film. Critics' favorite, definitely. No question about it. That can help it along. Not always. I think Trial of the Chicago 7 has kind of all the ingredients that might make a Best Picture winner, particularly when we watch the news every night and see what's going on and how this movie is so prescient right now. Academy members like to be on top of something that's important, and whether that, versus Frances McDormand stacking boxes at Amazon is as important as what Chicago 7 says to them, I don't know. I do think Minari, with the wind at its back from Parasite last year, has put a focus on Koreans. And in this case, you saw what it did at SAG. It did something Parasite didn't do. It got individual acting nominations as well as ensemble. huge numbers at the Critics' Choice, which is a very indicative group. It's spread out. It's 400 members around the country. Yes, they're not Academy members, but they often
They tend to be predictive.
went for that in a very big way. And so I think that's one that's like maybe a consensus. That might be the consensus one. It gets a lot of number ones, but it really gets a lot of number twos, whereas some of these others are dividing the passion vote. So we'll see. I loved Promising Young Woman personally. I think it's a great movie. I surprised myself by liking it as much as I did because I saw it twice. First time I didn't. First time I thought it was okay. I saw it in a theater too, right as the pandemic hit. But I watched it again, and I don't know. I saw an entirely different movie than I really saw the first time. And so that was my number 3 movie this year. And Mank is the classic movie about the movie industry. And so Oscar voters love stories about themselves. Anne thinks it's The Irishman, which translated means 0 for 10. But I don't know.
I thought it was going to be Amanda Seyfried that was going to win something, but she's looking weaker than I expected.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, it's Tim's turn. I'll shut up.
We'll see, but you know, the beautiful black and white of it all, the crafts, and remember, the Oscars have that whole red states, the crafts that are contributing to best. So that one's may not be ultimately a number 1 choice, but it could be something that we're not measuring in the right way quite yet because we don't know how the industry really feels about it. And I just literally within the last hour talked to an Academy member who said to me, "Oh, I hear we disagree on something," because he was talking to my wife. And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Mank." And I go, "Oh, you didn't like it?" And he goes, "Not really." And he's in the Academy. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they won't love it as much as the reasons I think.
The crafts will love it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Go. But you'd expect that the actors would love it too. And Amanda Seyfried not getting in there and Mank not getting on side, that's a sign of weakness.
You know, the irony of it is the writers. When I saw Mank, I said, well, this is one movie for the Writers Guild, of which I am a member. And the minute I got that ballot, I went down to, you know, see what was ineligible, you know, because the Writers Guild makes things that aren't made under the agreement ineligible. Right. And so I went down and figured it all out and did a little story on that. And I just shocked myself that Mank is ineligible for the one place that would embrace it so much, writers. And but it's not eligible at the Oscars in the writing categories too. But there are a lot of movies that aren't eligible at the Guild this year. Nomadland and Minari and on like that.
Timothy.
I mean, I agree with a lot of what both Ann and Pete said, but I do think you know, the below the line people, you know, the behind the camera people, I think they will vote for Mank, and they constitute like 1/3 of the Academy. So in the final vote, that means a lot. And I think Mank will do well, but I also think Trial of the Chicago 7 will do well because everything about the editing, the music, you know, it's really great. And
huge actors.
And the actors are great too. Incredible cast.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, Sacha Baron Cohen seems like the front runner to get a nomination. But you could nominate any one of 8 actors in that film, and that would be justified. But also, as you said, it's so timely because, I mean, especially with what's happening in DC, the idea of, you know, the government manipulating people, lying, deceiving, you know, bending the law. You know, that film was pertinent when I saw it, but it becomes scarily pertinent these days. So I think that'll do well. But also, you know, I love Nomadland. I do think it's more than just Frances McDormand in an Amazon box factory.
Thank you, Tim.
I mean, you know, because again, I think
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying,
yeah,
like, is that as important as Trial of the Chicago 7? You know.
Well, I mean, you know, I mean, I think it is important in the way that Minari is important too. It's like a small scale movie about economics. And, I mean, the people in Nomadland are victims of the American dream. And I think that's kind of timeless, but it's also kind of timely now during the pandemic. So, I feel like if the voting were going on today, we could predict a winner, but, a lot can happen in a month. And we've still got, 2 months before the Oscars. So a lot can happen in there.
And different people are seeing these movies, and Nomadland, to use that as an example, I talked to one very high ranking executive at Paramount, for instance, who really has no dog in this hunt, and feels that Nomadland was a soulful, use that word, soulful movie, and was very impressed by it. I talked to another member, though, who just looked at their watch constantly through the whole thing. So, it just depends on how you see it. That's what I was trying to make a point.
Yeah.
How you're
you're
viewing
right.
these
You're right.
movies.
No, you are right. And also, I mean, you brought up something earlier, which is the experience of seeing things on a small screen, because that does make a difference. And I think part of it is, I'm part of, you can, in a theater, you get immersed in the film, but also at home, there's so many distractions.
Oh,
and
totally.
I've done that, even films that I like.
You put it on hold to go open the front door when the mailman comes, whatever.
You check
For
your
us,
phone.
and we have our name emblazoned into many of these things. At least I do when I saw these movies. Constantly, you're watching these movies and seeing your name on them because
you
they
look
think
through your name to see. It's very
we're going
annoying.
to pirate them or something,
Right,
and so
purposes.
that's a distraction.
Hey, what's going on with, we're talking about the good news of some movies surging, whether we all agree on whether or not they should. What should we think about Hillbilly Elegy, a movie we wrote off, and here it comes. Here, Glenn Close, I don't think
I never did.
I did not. I think Pete and I were the two people from the beginning who said the actors are going to like this, and the actors are going to like Amy Adams and Glenn Close.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the movie, that is true.
That
is
was
what
critics
happened.
piled on it, gave it a
Right.
terrible score on Rotten Tomatoes, copied each other on their reviews. I was a big supporter of it. I liked it. I didn't get into the whole weeds of it later when they were all dissecting that this guy's an ultra conservative, and I don't care. I only look at what I see on the screen, and I thought it was a moving
It was
film.
an addiction story and a family story.
A family story. It's a lot of that, and I thought Glenn Close was sensational in it, and Amy Adams was great too. In fact, it doesn't. Publicist the other day said, "Wow, we were having a conversation the day before SAG," and I said, "Don't be surprised if Amy Adams is one of those nominees. Don't be surprised. They always do something." And that is the kind of nomination I could say. And she called me the next day and said, "Wow, how did you do that?" I go like, "Well, because I don't go on Gold Derby and predict these things. Like Tom's going to go like, you got it wrong." But I just
get it wrong till the end.
Feeling.
And then
I
we
will
do
go on
okay.
Gold Derby. I will go on Gold Derby later when I don't have to face all these people on Zoom calls. But I thought that movie had something, and it's again. It's likely to show up in the Academy, definitely for Glenn Close. She's actually run the board so far with the.
She has everything,
and she's up against Olivia Colman again.
Yeah,
I know, it's terrible. But this time, it's a physically transformative role. Unlike The Wife, of course, she looked a lot like Glenn Close, playing Glenn Close.
And she got the makeup and hair thing, the short
she's the
list.
finalist with the
belly on that she's been showing to the paparazzi and stuff. So, but it would be a bit of a shame to think that Katherine Hepburn, the biggest winner of all, of course, among actors, once said, "You always win for the wrong role." Well, that might be the case with Glenn Close.
I thought she was great in it. I think it's a perfect role for her to win. I thought she was great in The Wife. I mean, everybody predicted her for The Wife, but you know what happened with The Wife? It wasn't Glenn Close or anything, because she won everything. It looked like she would. If you did a postmortem, a lot of them didn't watch this movie.
That's
particularly the men in the Academy.
Men didn't have any interest.
They have no interest in a movie called The Wife.
That's
So-
the hazard of being in a weak movie, which is part of the problem. But here's the thing. One of the things that was very clear from the short list is that if you are on Netflix, there's an advantage. People will see the movie.
Yeah.
It'll just get
Definitely
seen.
true.
And so that's the advantage that Hillbilly Elegy has,
Yeah,
among others.
definitely true.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something where I'm sure we're going to disagree on, and that is this Best Actor race assumption that Chadwick Boseman has this wrapped up. I am a great skeptic of, historically speaking, of posthumous nominees winning. There are many examples. You know, there have been 7 at the Oscars historically, and only 2 have won. James Dean, of course, was nominated twice and lost posthumously. If you just look at the recent Emmys, because they vote by peer group, and that Carrie Fisher just lost, Fred Willard just lost. You look back at tragic, I remember when Phil Hartman was killed by his wife with News Radio, and everyone said, oh my gosh, I'm using Emmy analogies here now. And they said, oh, of course, he's going to certainly win for that. And he lost to David Hyde Pierce for Frasier for One More Time kind of a role. Yes, there's the Heath Ledgers and the Peter Finches, the 2 exceptions to the rule. But in general, a very surprising trend to me over the years has been the lack of it just doesn't automatically. I don't think this is a lock at all for Chadwick. And I've had Riz Ahmed out front for 2 months. He's won the Gotham Award. He won the Indiewire Critics Awards. He won, the Toronto Film Critics Award. He's won lots of things. And I just don't buy this.
No,
Chadwick
I agree.
thing. What do you guys say?
I will defend Chadwick on the following grounds: is that a lot of the time what gets you the win is a narrative. And the narrative behind his performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was that it was the last performance he gave, and he knew it was the last performance he was going to give, and he gave the performance of his life. That, to me, gets you the win.
It could, except for one reason. He's likely to get, or possibly will get, 2 nominations.
Yeah.
And that's never happened. A posthumous in supporting and lead, and the possibility of having different people wanting to vote for him, like Anne says, and for different scenarios, but splitting his vote. Where do they vote for him if they want to?
I don't think he's in the running for supporting, so I don't
Okay,
think
well,
that's a
he's got
factor.
those
I mean, he might
nominations.
get nominated. You're right. It could happen, but I don't think he's high up. I think that just goes straight to Leslie Odom Jr. End of
Unless
story.
they think Anthony Hopkins in The Father is so good in this that we want to give it to him, and we can still give it to Chadwick by voting for him and supporting. There
People
may
don't
be
think
that.
like
I
that,
mean,
do
it-
they?
I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, it's possible, but the problem with all this, but I agree with you, Tom. I don't think it's a given that he's going to win Best Actor. Some pundits seem to think, oh yeah, that's the only sure bet here, and I don't know that it is. And with all of us, we talk to Academy voters, and the danger of anecdotal stuff is, you talk to one person and you think, God, are they typical of all the voters, or are they just the one person? But I did talk to one member of the Academy and asked her about Chadwick Boseman. She said, he's, with all due respect, he's dead. He doesn't need it. I'm going to vote for somebody who's alive. And I thought that was kind of cold, but I thought it was, at least she was honest.
Well, on the other hand, I got an email from an actress, a former Oscar nominee, who said, please, Pete, tell me Chadwick wins. Please tell me Chadwick wins. So,
There's a lot of emotion there, is my point.
No, there is a lot of emotion. I think it's entirely possible that he will win, but I don't think it's a done deal.
The
There you
nominees,
have
according
Okay.
to the Gold Derby chart, is Chadwick is way out front. This number in this column represents the number of experts. We have 28 piping in now who say this person will win. So Chadwick has 23, and his nearest competitor is Hopkins at 3, 2 of us for Ahmed, and so forth. And then there's this really curious nomination, or potential nomination down here, hovering at 6. Stephen, am I pronouncing it Yan right? Again, it's
Yun.
this
Yun,
It's
Yun.
Yun, actually.
Jung, thank you. It's
Stephen Young.
again, it's this love of Minari, and especially remember, this is his quest. This is his quest as a father trying to find, to live the American dream today, not set out in the old West or the rest of it. And he is, I think he was the cover of the New York Times Sunday magazine last week or the week
Good
before.
story. Mhm.
He's just popping up in all these really cool, prominent places. And if he gets in, I think there's a threat there that he could win.
Well, it's possible. I wouldn't be surprised. It depends on the support for the movie, which I do think has really surging support, and like I said, is a possible consensus. Could draw him in, no question about it.
I think Riz has most of the momentum, though, at this point, if anyone does, to take it. I mean, it is still Hopkins ahead of him, but Sound of Metal has just been solid.
No, I agree. I agree. But, I mean, just look at those top six. And you think all of them deserve a nomination, and all of them could win, but there's only 5 slots and only 1 winner. But also Kingsley Benadir, who was so great, and Leslie Odom Jr. seems to be getting all of the love of the actors. But I would vote for Kingsley.
Well, Oldman isn't going anywhere. I think the one who might be vulnerable, judging from SAG, is Delroy Lindo, which I hope is not true. And I hope that the Academy voters rally to the cause because he deserves it. But that they're ahead of Kingsley Benadir. I do think it's just Odom for that movie.
Yeah, we have to look at, I think in the case of breaking this tie, we have to look at the strength of the movie that they're in, just like it will be with the rest of the Academy. That's why I think Stephen Yeun's going to get in, but I don't know if Defy Bloods has that level of strength throughout the Academy.
It has. This is always a fascinating stat, but the movie with the most, very often you can predict what's going to win SAG Ensemble, which sometimes predicts Best Picture, like it did last year with Parasite, and very often you can predict what's going to win there based on the number of people listed among the nominations, right? So the movie with the most people listed after it, it's like Orange is the New Black would win on the TV side at SAG all the time because it had this cast that went on for 4 paragraphs and everything else had tiny things. Well, in case you're wondering, how does it all shape up this year? Defy Bloods has the most. It has 15 people nominated, listed there compared to 7 for Miami and 7 for Chicago 7. But very often you can go back and look and say, oh my gosh, Hidden Figures. Yeah, that had the most I believe it had the most nominations among the people there when there have been surprises.
People do like The Father very much, though. It is a popular film.
They do. Yeah. It's we'll see. There's too many movies called The Father this year, but there's The Father. There's the Bulgarian film The Father. There's a movie called Father. There's another one called Father something or other. It's like nobody has another title this year.
Let's look over at Best Actress and who wants to pipe in here. So many of us, like me, thought, oh, this was Viola Davis. A slam dunk cannot, or Frances. I think we started off all of us with the assumption that Frances McDormand had it. And then personally, I was saying, oh gosh, of course it's Viola Davis. With the music and the whole transformative performance and everything. And now here comes Carey Mulligan just shooting up that ladder like anything. I've always been skeptical about Vanessa Kirby. I know that's going to get some bad reaction from you guys.
She's in.
She's gotten everything she could get so far.
There are 4 of them who've gotten everything already, and Davis, Kirby, McDormand, and Mulligan. They're all 4 in.
So
but Tom, when you say you're skeptical, are you saying you're skeptical she's going to get nominated, or you're skeptical of?
I'm skeptical of the whole candidacy. I didn't.
Oh, it's an actor's role, and they're voting here. So I think that Vanessa Kirby.
And it's also an arrival. I mean, it's all about discovering a major new talent that's going to be around for a while.
They're gonna go for her. With Viola Davis, she might have one thing going against her: is she didn't sing those songs. she sang
That's
one
true.
song that was barely, singing.
But
It-
they
as
got the
well.
makeup and hair, they're getting the right support. The fifth slot is what's interesting, Tom.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are several people who could get that fifth slot, and I don't know which one it is.
I
I really
don't
don't. I don't
either.
think anybody does.
I still hold out hope and genuinely think that Sophia Loren could get it, despite
Wouldn't
the
that
fact.
be great? Oh, she was wonderful.
If anyone's going to do it, it's the Academy. I mean,
Yeah.
that's her group.
Yeah.
But there's also Zendaya from Malcolm and Marie, which
I
has been
don't think
slagged
she
a
will.
bit.
I don't think
Yeah.
Zendaya has a chance.
But the
She's
Critics'
been
Choice
tanking
came
lately.
through for her.
They did, but they
They
also
did.
nominated 7. I don't see Zendaya getting in. That movie's very divisive.
But now, what
Andrew
about
Day is well liked. even
Andrew
if the
Day's
movie
terrific, too, in
Isn't
this.
that good?
she's terrific,
right?
but Michelle Pfeiffer.
I love her,
yeah.
and she got a Golden Globe, but she's in the comedy category there.
I don't feel it.
I would love to see Michelle Pfeiffer get in. I'm not sure they're seeing that movie,
Yeah.
and and that's a problem.
Right. Right.
And this is
what-
where Sony Pictures Classics has a lot of films that are coming in late. They were holding out for theatrical, and I worry that people haven't seen some of these films.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
haven't. They haven't. We'll see. I'm so tempted to just predict Sophia Loren, despite all the odds at this point. And
What
I
about
don't
Kate
know why.
Winslet?
Kate Winslet has really done a lot of campaigning here, and it's added up to nothing so far.
She's
So
number 12.
I just feel like she's one of the regular perennials that is respected and liked, and it's just a question of whether people see the movie or not.
and I don't think
And-
they've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a weaker year, I think she might get in just on the basis of her body of work.
Right.
But this year, I think it's a crowded category, and I'm not sure people have seen it. But just as a side thing, when you mentioned Sony Classics, I'm the same way. I hope enough people see these movies, but I kind of love Sony Classics for sticking with theatrical releases. It's like it's just they're saying, look, we're supporting the theater owners. We're not going to sell to streaming right away. And so
I totally understand their support of their own release model, but at the same time, just in the context of the awards, they're missing that whole conversation that people have with each other about what they've seen.
Yeah.
The bottom line, you've got to adjust to the realities of the world. And the reality of the world, as you said before, is Netflix gives you an advantage. And to
This year
pretend
they do.
that you're for the theaters in a very unusual year is sticking your head in the sand. And I am the world's #1 supporter of the theatrical experience. It's all I talk about. This year, I see absolute evidence that unless you're playing the game the way the game needs to be played this year, you're out of luck. And that's sad for me with people like Michelle Pfeiffer. The Father, they have delayed the release till the end. And you can only hope that Academy members seek out their screeners on these movies and actually watch it that way.
Because it's so good, it actually got a Best Picture nomination at the Golden Globes and deserved it, quite frankly.
Yeah.
This is our list here of
music also got a Best Picture nomination at the Golden Globes. So, don't get me started.
Hey, all right, Best Director. Who's got their nerve to size up this race? It's
Everybody
really
knows it's Chloe Zhao, and it's not going to be anybody but Chloe Zhao.
I think it's a woman's going to win this year, and she's probably the most likely one. It's a way of voting for a trial of the Chicago 7 for Best Picture. Actually, I could see a world where Aaron Sorkin
you
doesn't
might
get
be right.
nominated for Best
Yeah.
Director because the
too.
director's branch is quirky, and they go, "We're not going to let in
He's
some
not
writer."
really a director. Right?
He did a
Yeah.
great job with
He
it,
did do a great job.
and I
But
hope
he's
he gets
almost
nominated.
embarrassed about like on the directors round. Do you guys watch all these directors roundtables and actors and actress roundtables? You can learn a lot. If you look at the directors roundtable, Fincher's the alpha male. He's the guy, and they all respect him. And even Sorkin was like, I'm
Well,
not sure
Sorkin,
I'm a
the first-
director.
Yeah, Sorkin, the first time I interviewed him this year, said, "Have you seen Mank?" And he goes, "Oh my God." And he's going, "I called up David." And then even when he said that, I wasn't putting it 2 and 2 together. Oh, wait, you won your Oscar for David Fincher's film, The Social Network. They're good friends. They've done interviews together now. They've interviewed each other. I understand Netflix put something out, or are going to. So I think even Aaron Sorkin would say, yeah, this is a man who's never won. And, let's give it to him. So.
But I mean, I think Greengrass totally deserves a nomination.
Oh, me too.
So,
I love that
and I
movie.
think News of the World is going to play better with the Academy
Yeah,
than it
yeah.
has with some of these other groups.
I think it's a great movie. Yeah.
But I wonder, I think Regina King definitely gets in also. I wonder about 3 women getting in. That would be unlikely, don't you think?
I don't know if Regina King gets in. Again, an actor, first time, who's been given award after award, by the director's branch. Are they going to respond to that as a director's movie or an actor's movie? I don't know.
The actors wouldn't have given the performances they gave if they hadn't been directed by her.
It's all
That's the
perception.
question.
Yeah, it's all.
Yeah, but they do sometimes snub those actors. Ben Affleck famously was not nominated, of course.
Yes,
for,
but I mean, Robert Redford, Warren Beatty, Kevin
I know.
Costner.
They were all
Mel
heartthrob
Gibson.
stars.
Come on, they got nominated.
I don't know.
And Gerwig got nominated.
Yeah,
That's true.
Why don't we have a promising young woman, Emerald, up? Where is she? Oh, there she is.
She's on the list. That's what
Yeah.
I was raising the question about. She's
Yeah.
moving
Okay, so
up.
Emerald's in 7th place.
Well, she's another actress turned director, not a well-known enough actress to make them think we're putting an actress in there.
She'll get a boost from BAFTA, is what will happen.
yeah. But I mean, the Academy's directors branch is pretty small, and it's mostly film directors, as opposed
It's
to
insular, yeah.
as opposed to the Directors Guild. And I'm thinking, okay, she directed her film, but to film directors, is she a film director?
Right.
Whereas she's somebody who just happened to direct her script. Because I do think that there's cases, a Beast of the Southern Wild, where they would nominate somebody unexpected, but you thought, yeah, that's a real director's movie.
Agreed. I understand what you mean.
I'm not sure Promising Young Woman fits.
Well, I think that Paul Greengrass could be a surprise there, because they like him. He's a real director's director.
Yeah.
He's tackling a genre he's never done before, and that Tom Hanks has never done, a Western, and did it so well. And that's a big studio movie, and there might be some sympathy for putting something in to make it not look like the Indie Spirit Awards here.
It's a good idea.
Just 2 weeks ago, Amanda Seyfried was well out front across the board at all the Gold Derby odds to win supporting actress. She has sunk now to 3rd place, while Olivia Colman is in 1st. But I can't pronounce her name. The grandma from Minari.
She just they call her YJ. That's what she said to me.
Oh, okay. That has, she has so much great support. Then there's Glenn Close moving up to number 4. She's back in this race. And now we have, Maria Bakalova for a comedic role that was placed in the lead categories over at the Globes. And then this Ellen Burstyn thing with the movie I'm Skeptical About, Pieces of a Woman, who gets her great speech moment, her big showcase moment that you often need to win there, near the last half of the movie. But she, of course, is very impressive. And then we know Oscar loves little girls, and the gal from News of the World has been popping up with nominations here and there.
She could do something because she could be the one thing News of the World gets. It's a weird thing that happens sometimes. We'll see.
It's going to get a lot of technical stuff probably, though.
I hope so.
Ellen Burstyn has that great scene. It's one scene. My question is Maria Bakalova. I know she's getting every kind of nomination and probably wins a lot of these things. I don't know how the actors branch looks at someone in that kind of a role.
No, I agree.
So
yeah, no, I mean,
I think she gets nominated, and she's an arrival. No.
I mean, I think
definitely
it's possible, but it happens every year where critics groups just embrace a person, whether it's an actor or whatever, and then they don't show up in the Oscars, and you realize, okay, that these are very different voting groups, and critics see things differently than Academy voters. So
and particularly
I think,
actors looking at these kinds of performances. The reason Anne, I think, mentioned Nomadland didn't get a SAG ensemble. There was no way that
yeah,
was going to get an
Because it
ensemble.
was non-pros, except
It's
for
yeah.
Francis
non-pros. You
and
think
David.
actors are
Right,
going to vote for
right.
non-pros taking these jobs away?
No,
No.
Well, yeah,
No.
Shape of Water wasn't nominated for ensemble, even though it won Best Picture.
Yeah.
yeah,
But-
that was the first time since
Yeah.
Braveheart.
But
So
you may have a
it's pretty
number of
rare.
veterans. You may have a number of veterans in this. Ultimately, if Ellen Burstyn gets in, and then Glenn Close gets in, and then YJ gets in from Minari. This is going to be a veteran group of people, and I don't know. Maria Bakalova could be odd man out, maybe in. Certainly,
She gave a great performance.
I loved her.
don't
I mean,
see,
in that
I don't see the
situation,
actors not recognizing how good that performance was.
Yeah. I'm only saying if they recognize it as acting rather than,
Yeah.
What
some
else
other
could
form.
it be?
Well,
What
you-
is
sketch acting, comedy skit acting.
Yeah. They could,
on a
performing.
very high level? I would be shocked
No
if she
script.
doesn't get in.
well, they do have a script. That's the odd thing. If they understand that Borat is completely scripted and everything is planned out, and she has to do this stuff on one take, they realize the high wire act. If they do realize that, and there is a high wire act, but I don't know that they realize that. We'll see. Yeah.
Here is Best Supporting Actor that has really been shifting suddenly. Leslie Odom was way solidly out front. And here, if you look at this column I called attention to earlier, 16 of our 28 experts are still saying he's going to win. But we have, if you look at the most recently released nominations, like Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, etc., and the people at Gold Derby who have piped in, including experts, etc., Daniel Kaluuya is in front now in the new batch of predictions made at the site over the last 2 weeks. And then Sacha Baron Cohen and Leslie Odom trade the second and third spot. So we've seen a very curious shift here.
Yeah, Kaluuya is moving up very strongly. That's a movie
He is.
people are catching up with. It's very well reviewed.
And the
Judas
television
and the
ads
Black Messiah. It's good.
and
It's a
the
good
TV
movie.
ads are running constantly now because it opens, now in February, and that helps. Nomadland too, I think, is being helped by the fact that they've got a television campaign finally, and so people are seeing it, and so that's important. Bill Murray, On the Rocks hasn't gotten the love I think it should
He's
have.
falling, I think.
He's really
And Paul
falling.
Racy, rather, could get in there instead. I
But
think.
he's not gotten in anywhere, has he? Racy?
No, this is a case of
Yeah.
my making a bet that The Sound of Metal is popular enough, and that the actors branch recognizes this veteran. And there's a narrative. I might be wrong.
No, I understand
think
exactly
it could
what you
happen.
mean.
No, I agree with you, Anne, because I think Paul Racy, I do think he's going to get nominated, and I hope he does. But I feel like because there are people, I think Mark Rylance did
That's
not.
what I was just going to say. Mark
Yeah.
Rylance, just as you said it, I'm thinking Mark Rylance.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Regina King missed the other ones too when
Yeah.
she got in. and
Yeah,
won.
I mean, I don't think she won anything. I don't even know if she was nominated for some of those. But then,
No, she
it's like-
wasn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
but then when it came to
One
Oscar,
and not the other. She didn't
Oh,
get them
definitely
both.
Mark Rylance. Jared Leto's done very well with the
Yeah.
SAG and things, and he's great in The Little Things. If
Yeah.
they see that, they could go for that. And don't discount another actor. If it's Mark Rylance or it's Frank Langella in Trial of the Chicago
Just
Seven.
see those guys. They're all great. They're all amazing. Jeremy Strong
Yeah.
too, but I just see them knocking each other out.
That's possible too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it.
Along
I
with
don't
the
see,
Ma
I
Rainey
do not see
guys.
Stanley Tucci making it here.
No. Not, he's very good. It's just a mediocre movie.
Yeah, I didn't like
Yeah.
the movie that much. Yeah. So, and of course, Chadwick Boseman again in this category, taking a slot possibly. We'll We shall see. Alan Kim. Oh, all right. Well, that's if Minari just like starts sweeping everything and
Well, one thing we don't know what's going to happen in the next month or two, but what we can see is where the momentum is. And
Yes,
since
yes.
those voting groups, we now understand that Kaluuya is moving up, Minari is moving up, Sound of Metal is doing well. You can see it, you know,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
and
And
Promising Young Woman.
there's less to see this year, so it's easier to narrow this
Catch
down.
up.
Pete and Ann, you're more in touch. Actually, and Tim too. What do you hear from the voters in terms of this screening platform that they're having to use now? It's not popular, is it? Are they using it?
You mean the
I've heard
Academy?
stories like Pete that they aren't. Some of them don't have Apple TV, and some of them don't have Roku. Some of them are literally plugging their computer into the TV. You
Are
know,
you
I mean,
talking about the Academy's screening room or whatever
Yeah,
they call
the
it?
reading, yeah, the screening room.
I mean, I am talking to people who use that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason Segel is one actor that loves it. I was doing a Zoom and he brought it up and he was talking to all of his fellow Academy actor members in this panel. And he goes, I love the fact that it's alphabetical and you can just go down and do that. I've talked to many more people who hate the fact that it's alphabetical and
there's
that
so
they've
many
thrown in
films on
all of
there.
the foreign language films in the middle of this, and that they will take any movie that will offer up 12,500 for the opportunity of being on it, so that a lot of those would not have spent the money to send out screeners, but hey, 12,005, we can be on the Academy thing, so bring on the wretched. You know, and that's what's happening too. And they go like, what is this? More people send me, have you heard of this movie? What is
Yeah.
Well, DVDs. This is the last year where DVDs are permitted, right?
Well, there's a movement to reverse that. We'll see if it gets any traction.
Right,
There aren't
reverse
very
it, meaning
many.
extended into maybe next year or the year beyond, sending out DVDs?
They would like, I had one guy, I literally printed this. One guy suggested, look, I just like DVDs because I like to put them on my kitchen counter so I
Right.
know what I want to watch. In a larder, as Paul Schrader once called Netflix, where all the movies go to die because you don't know what you were wanted to watch, and the marketing's gone after a
It
week.
hasn't hurt them this year to be
Yeah,
on Netflix.
no, because they're
No.
brilliant. They've sent out 25,000 screeners for every one of their movies. I have so many multiple copies of Netflix movies. They're playing this game better than anybody because they know the value of screeners. He suggested, even if they don't want to send the disc, send the box so that I can put it out on my kitchen and then I can find out, remember what I want to watch.
Wow. Because what we saw at the Emmys, again a peer group award, was disturbing, quite frankly, where they got rid of DVDs completely this year. And we saw something we had never seen ever happen at that award show, which is one program winning everything. Schitt's Creek swept absolutely every top award. And well, it probably deserved every one of those awards, arguably. On another level, it just seems as if the harder we're making it for voters to see these movies, the more likely they are to just stick with a few favorites, let sweeps happen.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. So, you know, this is a very difficult situation. We should not be, as the United States of America, should not be making voting harder. It should be making it easier. And what's wrong if a film company wants the right to send out a screener, they should be able to do it. I have no doubt they'll continue to send screeners to other groups, but to the Academy, it seems crazy to me because there are still a lot of older people in the Academy who can't figure out any of this. Like Ann says, taking a plug, trying to do this stuff. It's just, oh my God, you know, but you know, again, others seem to have no problem with it. So we'll see.
You know, but even us press people who have to deal with it as part of screeners, it took me somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes with the tech people at PIC Systems, so I could finally see Nomadland. And the screw ups that were happening with the coding and
all the time. I know every support guy in town, every one of them from every system, and you call them if you can get them on the helpline. You know, they're really good and they can figure it out generally. Everybody has a different system. It has to be, you know, with a screener, it's one thing. With all this downloadable stuff, it's a recipe for trouble.
And they only give you like less than 48 hours to see it in a certain window. And God help you if you get distracted in that 48 hours, and then all of a sudden you sit down like I have, I'm sure you have too many times. Okay, now I can watch Sound of Metal. And of course, it's expired. Now you've got to find somebody to turn it back on again.
That's always
go through all that bullshit.
That's when I use
know.
my computer. I always go in to say, "Is it expired yet?" Because I'm not going to go to like set it up and the whole thing if I find out at the
Well,
end.
let me ask you maybe a dumb question, but has the Academy ever explained why they're discontinuing DVDs? Because I kind of feel like, look, I think it's cheaper for them not to send out DVDs, but if the company wants to,
Yeah.
what's the harm in that?
Well, there is no harm in it, and I think they want an even playing field. You know, they got in the DVD screener business after a long time of pushing it off. You know,
Yeah.
people that had their own Academy list were very valuable and got
Yeah.
all these jobs, and
And they gave it to a middle person to do all of that. all the
yeah, you
mailing.
know, and so that became their business all of a sudden. Then they developed this down, you know, they just want to be hip, I guess. The Television Academy is a different thing because it's TV, number one. And you know, the guy that came in that did that system, giving them only 1 year to continue with the screeners, came from digital and totally was digital. And he says, you know, the only way is to dive in the deep end. I remember him telling me that.
Well,
Dive in the deep end.
well, also in terms of piracy, I mean, with the Emmys, by definition, these shows have already aired. So it's like,
Right.
you
It
know,
doesn't matter.
nobody's going to pirate them. But again, I think that's a studio's big paranoia about. I think that's a paranoia about DVDs and even links for streaming, is that it's going to be pirated. And with a lot of this year's crops, you know, they're a little more casual about it. But when you get into next year, when you get Dune and West Side Story and James Bond, you know, they're going to be very paranoid about piracy again.
Yeah.
But
There's been a lot of pushback too from the networks and from the studios. The year before last, I remember someone at Stars telling me that they had to spend $2 million to produce their Emmy box. And a lot of that is not the production of the Emmy box. A lot of that is charging all of these little fees for permission to run this episode and getting permission from this guild and doing all of these fees. Remember, it was up until recently true that the Emmys were the only show business peer group award that actually charged money. The Oscars are free for the most part, except this $12.50 that Pete's talking about to put things up on their screening platforms. The Grammys are free, the Tonys are free, but the Emmys figured out a way long ago when they were still doing judging panels to say, well, you know, you have to pay us money for entry fees and stuff because we have panels set up. And they use that as a rationale to build a financial empire.
Right.
And yes, it got to be ridiculous when they suddenly had 25,000 voters and 25,000 DVD sets had to go out. Absurd. And then the little guys weren't winning anything because they couldn't afford to compete on that level. So I don't know what the answer is either, but has it been very hard to see movies. The Promising Young Woman, the only way I got to see that finally was I just gave up because I got missing the window when it was sent to me. I finally found it on on demand on cable, and I hit the wrong button and I had to watch it in Spanish with English subtitles. And I said, I'll take it.
I thought you were going to pay for it.
Oh my God! I thought you were going to pay for it too. So you didn't
I
want
did
to
end
pay
up,
for
I
it, so you
suppose I
watched
will.
it. You watched it in Spanish. Wow.
My, that is dedication. Speaking of foreign
Oh, my.
languages, my favorite, Call My Agent.
The
I'm
best
having so
show
much fun.
ever.
So
The
much
best show.
fun. The Cannes episode with Juliette
Oh,
Binoche wandering
so
around
Great.
the
The
bowels
finale
of the
of the
Palais.
season 3 was great.
Oh
Now
my
season
God.
4 is on there on Netflix. I love that show. So good.
So if I can't go to Cannes, I'll take it this way.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
Call My Agent is a must see. And I don't even think they never push it for Emmys. I think it would be international Emmys anyway, or I don't know why it's not among those, but it's really the greatest thing on Netflix.
It's a great way to practice your French. What can I say?
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for this. We're going to rally again soon. I hope And
Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Likewise.
I hope we've helped you all along watching and listening to this really interesting and therefore an exciting year. We've got a real race going, and that's what we always want. Those years when we have 12 Years a Slave or The Artist out front and they stay there forever, or Titanic, come on, we love an Oscar race that's producing as much drama as we see on the screen. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.